decade of working a desk job, so I wasn't very, wasn't getting the same movement that I did in the past. I woke up one morning and I literally couldn't move my legs.
And this is from
So like,
sciatica?
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So I'm in bed and like I'm like get up and I'm like my legs don't work. So it was, I mean, call that a wake up call, whatever, but it was like, this is serious. This is not good. Probably took 3 to 4, like a leave every day just to live, like that was like a baseline.
Mm.
Um, so I knew that like, I needed to do something. Went and talked to some surgeons and they wanted to fuse some disc.
Wow.
And I didn't know anybody that had gone down that route that it ended up being like a long-term solution. So it was kind of like just what can I do? What can I try to do to improve the situation? And somehow just like I thought, well, yoga. So here I am in like South Mississippi. There are no yoga classes that I'm aware of. So I think I got on eBay and I bought like some DVDs, essentially. So like Rodney Yee, AM, PM or something. A lot of people are familiar with that, but that was one of the first things that I did. And I would try to do it every morning and every afternoon. And it probably didn't take long before, I was seeing some benefit and I realized that, I needed to find an instructor, because watching something, that's big right now in the COVID, post-COVID world. It's like everybody's doing videos. Well, that's great. But it's kind of like, I don't know if you're familiar where they have these hot works, like sauna, hot yoga things.
Yes.
It sounds like a great idea, but I wouldn't, as an instructor, I'm freaked out about somebody standing in a sweaty, sauna. I don't know what they're doing with their knee. I don't know what they're doing with, like all kind of things. They could be picking up bad habits. They could be hurting themselves. So, I mean, I knew I needed to find an instructor. So I just kind of, kept looking around, found a instructor in Picayune, Mississippi. And he had just moved back. He retired from the Pentagon and he tried to open a little studio. His name's Jim Soanes. I don't know if you know Jim.
No, not yet.
And he had a Saturday morning, like I think it was 8 a.m. class. Let me tell you how popular that class was in Picayune. I was the only person that went.
Oh.
So it was excellent for me because it was literally like getting a private lesson. And I remember he asked me like, like, what am I doing there? Like that was it. And I told him the same thing about trying to get my back better. I had also started a pretty dedicated Zen meditation practice at the time. And I had a lot of trouble maintaining a seat, to meditate for. I was attending the New Orleans Zen Temple. So like, the sittings are 45 minutes and 45 minutes. That's a long time, to maintain a seat and not move around. So those were my two, I guess, initial factors in wanting to develop a practice. As selfish as that sounds, like I wanted my back to feel better, and
That's fine. That's what you wanted.
Yeah, and I wanted to be able to, do this meditation thing because everybody else seemed like they could do it with no problem. It was like, well, I have to move around. My knee hurts, my back hurts, whatever. Probably practiced with Jim for 2 years. And then at one point I asked him, I was like, when do you think I'll be ready, like to go to a public yoga class? So there was a little bit of a fear thing, because when I thought of a public yoga class, like it was all these like super flexible dancer type bodies and, not a lot of men in yoga classes. At least that's what I saw.
Right.
He was very encouraging and he was like, you just go and you do whatever you can do. You really focus on the breath and you focus on how you're moving and don't expect that you're not going to look like those other people. So I guess I got the guts to go. He started taking me to Wild Lotus, shortly after that, which is where I ended up doing Soul School in 2013, I think.
Hey, fellow
Yeah.
Soul School graduate alumni.
It's been a bit, but that's I mean, those are the reasons that I got into it. I thought it was pretty funny, talking to him. I was like, so, who would take a yoga class from some old power lifter or martial artist guy? Like, my brain couldn't understand that. It was like, that's not who teaches yoga, right? And he was very encouraging, saying that's what we need, because we have to break the stereotype of this is what yoga is. And I'm sure in other places it's a little more, open, but I mean, getting men in general, and then getting men in the South. So New Orleans is a little different, but to go to a yoga studio and do a yoga class, like, that's a big project. Like, it's not an easy thing. So one of the first things that I wanted to do, as I got a little bit of teaching under my belt, was do men's yoga series. So, like, just for men. The way that I kind of broke it down was in a way I feel like most men could understand, like more like a workout. Like, we're going to do a plank, and we're going to hold it for this many seconds. I want you to count this many breaths. So we have it broken down, because that's a format that I think most people are familiar with for most guys. And then just teach them sun salutation, break the body down into areas. Like, we're going to work on shoulders, we're going to work on hips, we're going to work on quadriceps, hamstrings, those kind of things.
Bite size.
Yeah. And I've been doing that for, I think this was my 7th year to do it.
Nice.
I just finished one. I've probably taught close to 150 guys who otherwise never would have come to a yoga class.
Amazing.
20% of them are still, I know for a fact, are still practicing. I have some of them that are students. 2 have actually gone on to become teachers.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So oh my God, that's so great.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. I just opened a studio in the middle of the whole COVID thing, which was like, clearly that wasn't planned. But it was in works in January. So, getting the lease signed and getting the construction and doing all the stuff. And then February, March, I'm in Costa Rica, and we almost got stuck in Costa Rica because flights were canceling. And it was like, barely got back. And then it's kind of like, well, what do we do?
Mm-hmm.
We're doing classes outside. We're trying to social distance. I mean, So there came a point where, there was enough people that wanted to practice. We kind of made it a personal responsibility thing. Like, if you feel like you want to put yourself in, everything's dangerous, right? And I mean, if you feel like you want to come to this place and you want to do this thing, like, don't be sick.
Right, all the provisions.
Yeah. And knock on wood, we have not had any. We've had a couple of people that were exposed outside of the studio that had to not be in the studio, but we haven't had any real issues. Some of it could have to do with the fact that we're mostly a heated studio too. The company that we bought the infrared heating panels, they're doing some tests right now with some independent laboratories where they're pretty sure that the spectrum of light that comes out of those panels pretty much kills most.
You bring up a really good point about the light healing, because between light healing and also sound healing has been pretty powerful lately in our communities.
Right.
You find that to be something that has inspired you to integrate that into your studio? Is that why you're leaning more towards that light,
Well,
red light?
a heated practice for me has always been, let's say as I went to a regular, or God forbid, air conditioned yoga class, which to me is baffling. It's like when you go to a gym and they're running the air conditioner. What are you doing? Your body needs to heat up. Your
Heat up.
body needs to, and just, you know, let's say I went to a 78-degree yoga class. I would just start to feel like my body was open when it was open, you know, because of so much tightness and, you know, parts of my hamstring, whatever it is.
Right.
But the first time I experienced like a practice that was like heated practice, and it could be like Baptiste, like 95
Right.
degrees. You know, not doesn't have to be the whole 105. That I was like, immediately I feel like I'm, you know, changing something. You know, so for me, I just really enjoy it. And I do find that it's going to attract a certain practitioner that may not come to another type of class.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So, you know, at the studio, like we have a lot of athletes. We have the University of Southern Mississippi is in Hattiesburg, so we have like a lot of the volleyball players, a lot of the So we're and like all the coaches come, and so we have like it's that type of environment. You know, obviously like with Budokon Yoga, and that's we met at the Dirty South Yoga Fest that time, that class. So for me, that was something that brought together like three things that I have really enjoyed. You know, martial arts, meditation, and then yoga. Oh, all these things can be in one thing. You know, so I literally saw a video while I was in Soul School, so I wasn't even a teacher yet. And I told everybody, I was like, when we're done, I'm going there. You know, I literally, and I did. I mean, I think we probably finished up in like May or June, and like beginning of August, I was in Miami knocking on Cameron's door, and it was like, I'm here. You know, like that's how I got started with that. But I really enjoy it, and it's been great to be part of that. I guess that organization and watch it change and watch it grow.
Can you tell me more about the Budokon and tell everyone that will be watching our video? Tell me more about Budokon, and do you notice an influence? Do you think is more men in your classes, more women, or what's the balance like in these classes? Is it
well,
yoga? What's it all about?
It's going to draw people again. Just like my idea is to get more men to practice. It's definitely going to draw people in that want to go to your typical yoga class, because we're telling people this is martial arts based. Everything that we do has a purpose. So either that's strengthening your body, opening your body, building mobility. So it's just not one of the things like Cameron said. I've heard him say it multiple times. He's like, you could take something that's functional and you can make it beautiful. But you can't always take something that's beautiful and make it functional. So that's kind of the real like philosophical difference in what we do in Budokon. It's like, oh, there's some beautiful, like, go to Instagram, look at these people doing these like asana on mountains, and you're like, oh, that's great if you're a dancer and if you body's open, like, but what is that actually healthy, you know, to be that open in your hips? I mean, I know we have a lot of like hip replacements and like young yoga teachers.
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
So, and I've even watched, you know, the system, you know, in the 6 or 7 years I've been teaching it, like change. Like Cameron's not like, this is how it is, and we're going to keep it this way. You know, it's like, oh, well, we met this guy and we learned this thing. And so it's integrating, it's changing. You know, that's Budokon Yoga, which is a lot like Ashtanga, where it's the same thing every time. So you would show up and you do these 7 sections. And so you learn them, and then you Um, you know, you sharpen them, you get everything. Your body gets stronger, your body changes, and then there's actually a secondary series, which is like you have to have the primary series down. You have to have all the movements. You have to have all that kind of stuff. So it's really interesting. I love doing it. It's probably one of the more you know energy building practices that I do.
And I almost find it kind of primal when I practice with you. I feel like I
Hmm.
feel very close to the earth, very animalistic. I feel more
Yes.
tuning into a different sense of myself that I almost
Yeah.
feel like can really commune to a higher level almost. It's almost a spiritual practice in a way for me. I
Yeah.
love
There's almost this level of like like how long have we been walking on two legs
yeah.
as human beings? And it's not in a like absolute sense of the age of the planet, it's not very long. So when we get back down on our hands and we're making that kind of motion that our ancestors likely did all the time, so it can connect to something that's inside of us that we don't
Mm.
always think about. So it does kind of maybe bring you back to something that's primal, that's inside you. Like it's different ways of moving that we just don't do anymore. So it
Yeah.
kind of brings that back. And so a lot of people,
It's like
it's
really
hard too.
ancestral. It's very,
Yeah, it's
takes
really
you back.
difficult to do those type of animal movements. And I
Mm.
find that like you take a group of like yoga practitioners and you get to that section and they just fall apart.
Mm.
I'm always kidding. I'm like, so y'all teach breathing, and none of you are breathing
Mm-hmm.
because they're doing something that's out of your comfort zone. It's very working in a low squat for 8 minutes is a difficult thing. Going on your hands, moving around. I can send you like a video of that section or something. Like
Oh,
it's
I would love it. That
really
would,
fun. Yeah, it's
yeah.
really fun. Um, but I just did completed Budokon's mobility teacher training. So I'm also teaching now the mobility aspect, which is a different way of just moving, you know. And so now with that, I'm able to go into like MMA gyms, and so like I've got some coming up where I'm doing like mobility for martial artists, mobility for fighters, those kind of things. And then you do that, and somebody really likes it, and then they come to the yoga studio. So that's really a way to like kind of cross pollinate the worlds, if you
Yes.
will.
I
Get
love that.
more. But as far as like you ask, are there more men or more women in Budokon? The women that practice Budokon are like amazing, and it's not going to be every woman that's going to like it. But when one does, they become really adept at this practice, and then they become like um, powerful
Mhm.
because they're getting to tap into that more like masculine kind of powerful energy that
Mm.
everyone has, you know. And I know that with this thing that you're doing here, you're kind of saying like men are marginalized, and I felt that in the yoga world too, right? So we don't have any room for masculine energy, or I'll be in a class and an instructor will throw out toxic masculinity in the class. Like really? So like somehow you can separate the two things, right? So
Right.
like divine feminine, toxic masculinity. That's the
The
painting
language is
trying to
kind of,
make.
oh,
Yeah, it's a little, it's like, hey man, like everything has to be in balance.
yeah.
Um, and what I've learned just like in the martial arts world is that the most absolute, like, as far as the world would consider killers, like people that can just do anything to you anytime they want, powerful people are the calmest people in the world. There is no toxic masculinity in someone connected to the power that is.
Hmm.
Where you see that is with people that are not connected, disconnected, the environment or the plastic seep into our water, mimic estrogen,
Mm.
lower testosterone in men, creating a bunch of like very angry um, people who aren't in touch with what it is, you know. So that's an issue that we have because we have to have both sides. It can't be everybody's going to go over here, everybody's going to be over here. I mean, that's really not how it works. So, you know, hopefully, I mean, at least that's what I try to do in the studio. I try to do with how I teach is we're open to everyone, but I don't try to push like some kind of dogma, like you should be this or you should be that. But I want to teach people tools to figure things out for themselves. Does that make sense?
Oh,
So don't
absolutely.
believe me because I'm saying this. Like you need to figure this out.
You got
Then
to do the work.
experience it for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Come out on the other side and then come back and go, oh, okay. So kind of feel like that's the, you know, just exposing people to those movement practices, encouraging people to have a personal meditation practice, um, encouraging people to experience different things with the way they eat. Um, you know, I hate the like phrase diet and exercise because it sounds like,
Yeah, but how you nourish yourself.
well, what about like feed yourself and train?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I prefer that. Like you're fueling yourself for the
Mm-hmm.
things that you want. That doesn't have to be restricted, but can't really donuts all affect that either. Um, so it's kind of like why are you eating? Are you eating to make your body healthy and do, or are you covering up emotion,
The
eating out of
comfort food.
boredom, whatever the thing is? And it's really hard in the South. You know, I mean everything is like gravy this, flour this. It really is. So you have to make a stand at some point.
So, what would you like to see more of in yoga for men or in wellness as a collective for men and the male or those that identify themselves as the male?
Well, I mean, I would say that just the big wellness space is pretty well represented. I would say
Mm-hmm.
really. Um, I'm I've been pretty excited because I mean back in when I was bodybuilding and powerlifting, um, there weren't a lot of like women that were like strong in the sports, and if they were, they essentially looked like men. You know, at the
Mm-hmm.
time they were probably taking men hormones and all that. But nowadays we have all these CrossFit athletes and just across the board. It's really nice to see that women are so much more represented in like the more serious or hardcore kind of fitness world,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, and they totally dominated the yoga world for however, right? Because it
Right.
was kind of um, it seems like it was yoga was picked up by like the 80s jazzercise aerobic type studio spaces, you know. Oh, we're going to add this to our,
Mm.
you know, whatever dance class,
Jane Fonda workout, and it just became a
Jane
thing.
Fonda stuff, 100%. So now it's like, um, you know, from the yoga side, like I want to try to make it where, I mean, just like our classes that we have now, you walk in, it's like, oh look, it's half guys, half girls.
Yeah, it's great.
And everybody's here working, everybody's here, and you know, frankly, when you're in a 105-degree room, because we do teach those classes, like nobody's looking at anybody else.
Mm-mm.
Everybody's suffering, like on some level, um, you know. And then there's a sense of community for just surviving that experience. That you can make it through. Like the term is like hormetic stressor. So I don't know if you know what that hormetic stressor means. It's something that causes your body damage, but your body builds back stronger from the experience. So heat is one of those things, like sauna exposure, hot yoga. I go both directions. I also go to the cold stuff. I've trained in half breathing. So I have a converted ice. It's like a ice cooler or a freezer,
Huh.
and I have it caulked. I have water in it. I have a thermostat, 36 degrees. And so when I go home at lunch, I open it up. I get in there, down to my neck, and I do the
Wow.
half breathing. Yeah, so it's 36 degrees in there for 3 minutes. It's very intense, and same thing, hormetic stressor. Your body's like, oh, I'm dying. Oh, I'm not dying. So it releases, in that case, cold shock proteins that are anti-inflammatory. So they go through your body looking for damaged tissue and whatnot. And the heat does the same thing. It releases heat shock.
Is that
Like,
what a cold plunge is for then? Is that what the intention is
mm-hmm.
for, is to do the cold plunge after being so open in heat for so long that you just,
It could be. I mean, they
oh,
used
okay.
it in like athletics,
Yeah, I've seen
to
that.
help
I know Tony
people
Robbins does it.
recover.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. But it helps in recovery for sure. But when it's a certain temperature, it triggers your body to release certain.
Wow.
So, and it's very difficult. Like I don't like being in the cold. I don't like being in,
Yeah, you said that
and
before. You're like, I don't like
and I
it.
don't like being in the heat. But taking making yourself do some type of practice that's out of your comfort zone is literally the only way you're going to learn or change.
Yeah,
So,
I love that.
so what I would encourage people, if they're like, what can I do? Like, what would you suggest? I'll be like, find something this week. Don't wait a month. Don't wait. Find something, and then it's outside of what you're comfortable doing. Now, safe, but and then do that, and don't just do that thing one time, because everybody doesn't like something the first time. Like, commit to it for a month.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do this for twice a week for a month. And then maybe like take, like literally take notes. Like, say, did this work for me? Did this not, what was my experience? Not everybody's going to want to get into a 36-degree water.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody's going to want to go to 105-degree hot yoga. But I find that the most like the best way to like shock your system and shock your way of thinking, shock your way of feeling, is to get way outside of what you're comfortable with.
Yeah. Say yes to something new a day, I think
Sure.
is the quote I keep hearing every now and then. That's been quite popular going around.
Yeah, don't run from hard things.
Yeah.
Like, hard things are like, okay.
Yeah, it's what builds you. That resilience really is what I feel like it's teaching you is resilience. I'd like to ask you to share with us in the next few minutes before that we have together. And then I'd like to also circle back and connect with you on coming to your studio and showing your space to everybody. So can you share with us share with us how people can get in touch with you, how they can find you and connect with you?
Sure. So the studio, the website is poweryogaandmovement.com.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all spelled out.
On your shirt.
I do it. Yeah, shirt. I do a pretty good job. It's hard, but I do a pretty good job keeping like all the Google stuff updated, all the Facebook, social media. Like that's almost a job in itself.
It is.
Connected and working. But that's the easiest way to find us. We're on Facebook, Instagram. You can reach out to me directly, Daniel@danielwise.net. Name. And yeah, we'd love to have you up at the studio.
Yes.
Maybe Sunday, you can come do all the Budokon classes. That would be really good.
Kick my own butt.
Yeah, it's not far. I mean, I drove a lot, a couple of years, driving from Hattiesburg to New Orleans, like to come down to like AC's Sunday morning class.
Yeah.
So it's, it's an hour and a half.
It's not that bad. It's really not that bad.
Throw a podcast
your
on.
studio is
one
still
road.
going. It's still up
Yes.
and going. You're still operating.
Yeah, which is
Awesome.
really, it's been super sad to see. Here we are like opening and getting all this stuff ready, and then I'm watching like studios down close.
Shit. Yeah. Yeah.
This really sucks. But
Mm-hmm.
we're up to 14 classes a week right now, which like
Amazing.
for Hattiesburg is like pretty crazy.
Amazing.
We have 6 a.m., we have noon, and then we have like 5:36 p.m.
That's
classes.
awesome.
Yeah, it's every month is stronger than the month before, and we constantly have new faces coming in, and I know like not everybody's going to want to be there forever, and no, it's good. We've got 5, I think, super qualified instructors who are in the space now. It's doing well. I'm enjoying it. I'm glad that kind of like people like, you got to shut it down. You can't do it. You can't open during this. I'm like, well, what? That's like, I have a 3-year lease. Like, what are we gonna do? Just pay that and like not open? But yeah, like we've got great staff that are like disinfecting everything, steam cleaning everything. We're spraying stuff on it. So we're doing everything that we need to do.
Yes.
Yeah, we lost some people who are still like, hey, I can't get out right now. Hey,
it's all good. Yeah.
Yeah, we get it. But yeah, the studio's it's doing well. Most of the places outside that I teach are back open. Like I teach at Pearl River Community College, so junior college in Poplarville. Teach at the state mental hospital.
Oh, amazing.
Place.
Yeah, we should definitely talk about that our next call.
Yeah. Like just teaching there, I know I've exposed a group to yoga that probably never in any other way would have gotten, because they can't leave.
Oh,
yeah. So I mean,
dang, Daniel, you opened up a whole can of worms. Now now we have to have another conversation.
Yeah. So that's been a really interesting thing. But every time somebody at the hospital or something, comes COVID positive, they shut us down for a couple of weeks.
Of course.
So it's kind of like I went and taught Tuesday, and then like Thursday they call me and they're like, oh,
no class.
Patient's got it. Like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it's as normal, teaching wise as it was kind of before all this. And I'm sure that if people are watching this and they're in other places, they're probably like, I can't believe that. And I'm like, well, I don't know.
Everywhere's different though. Everywhere's
for
different.
Sure.
Though. It's kind of a case by case, really, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Really
I wish I know that with people that's their primary source of income and stuff, got to be very difficult right now.
Absolutely.
Everybody's giving it away on Zoom for free, so why would you pay money for it?
Time for virtual studios.
But if anybody wants to come to a real class, you know how to find us. We're open and going. So
I'm so excited. We love to have
visitors, people come in. Yeah. Well, great. Well,
thank you so much, Daniel.
Else?
That's it for today. We're going to wrap up now, and I'd love to schedule another call with you to talk more about the state mental hospital and how that has influenced your practice and those in that community.
Oh, for sure.
That is an amazing conversation to have and to include.
It is a very,
I can't wait to have that.
Yeah,
and I would like to make sure that I set up a time to come on a Sunday soon and see you, and then also maybe even film a little part of the class, or maybe just like a little bit of it, and I'll jump in and of course do the class. But I would love to just get a little bit of that class in.
Yeah.
Maybe a lot of you teaching the class, if anything like that, but just to give everyone
those groups
what to expect.
Yeah, the Budokon people they're fine.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much, Daniel. I love you, brother. It's been such an honor.
Yeah. Talk soon.
Namaste.